Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Be the Wolf. Today, we're going to talk about something that's going through so many of your heads. I am here today with Anthony Markey. He is the founder and creator of I Know a Guy, which is at ikag.me. It's a daily newsletter and a podcast that's dedicated to helping entrepreneurs, professionals, and innovators grow their networks through meaningful connections, expanding their circles, creating more opportunity, all of that good stuff. So, we're going to talk about that thing where you think you're not doing enough, where you think you're lazy, those conversations you have in your head. But before we do that, I would love, Anthony, if you tell us a little more about what you do and tell us why it is that you do this. Why is it important to you?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to meet you. You're doing an awesome thing. So I'm excited to be here. So there's two sides to that question. There's what I do and there's my purpose, right? So what I do is on my business side, I am in the B2B benefits space. And then on my purpose side is this thing, right? Where it turns out of everything that I do, the part of it that is what I'm supposed to do, my purpose is the actual connecting, meeting people, having conversations, being social, making introductions, reaching out, networking, that part of it. Because that's what's left over when I trim away everything that's just frills and additives and extras onto what I do. And what's left is my purpose. So they go hand in hand, one of them makes way more money than the other one. So I need that at least for now. But as I grow into my purpose, that'll be the bigger part of what I do.
What I love about this is such a be the wolf thing. A lot of people have their business and it's going, it's fine, it's great enough. But there's something deeper going on within you that you're reaching for bigger fulfillment. And so we lean into our purpose. And some of us are really lucky and we can fulfill our purpose through our business. And some of us have to find sort of a different roundabout way to fold our purpose into our business. And it sounds like that's what you've been doing.
Yeah, it's been an ongoing thing for the last 7 years. That's how long I've been self-employed. And there was something about it that caught my attention. And it took that long for me to focus down, narrow down, trim away all the other bits that were clouding what I was doing. And what was left was me discovering, okay, that's the purpose. That's what's drew me to this entire time. That's what's kept me here. Cause you're an entrepreneur. You're gonna have those days where you're opening up ZipRecruiter, like, I can't take another minute of it. And then something happens and you're like, I'm unemployable at this point. I can't go back. There's something there. So with conscious effort, time, and just talking with people, you narrow down what it is at the core of what you're doing is what your purpose is.
Okay, so let's talk about the main part of your business and when you first, maybe not when you first started, because we know when you first start, you're doing everything. But a few years in, when the business is working, or at least working well enough for you, what were you doing on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So on a day to day, I would be, one of two things. I'd either be calling leads or visiting them. I'd be either scheduling the appointments or attending the appointments. And one of those things was way more enjoyable than the other. I really enjoyed the actual talking with people, getting to know them, asking questions, engaging, getting to really meet somebody, right? You're not just a passing hello but actually digging in, getting to know a good bit about them, sharing your why, sharing who you are, finding those ways that you can relate to people. That was the fun part. And the rest of it would have been the calling, the grind, that part of it.
And so you thought during this time, like so many entrepreneurs, you're not getting enough done. You're not doing all the things that you should be doing. Tell us what was going on in your head with that.
Yeah, I thought I was lazy, right? So if you were to look at me then, every single day was like pulling teeth, right? If I was like, okay, I gotta dial. I have all these leads I need to resolve. I need to reach out to these people. I need to have a conversation. I need to convince them to meet me. I need to do all the stuff that I don't want to do. And I thought it was just, me being lazy. There's a million other people out there doing what I'm doing and they're not having the same problems I am. Well, that's what you think. There's something wrong with me. this isn't working. You're dreading the next day. There's the parts that you like and that's what keeps you going, but the rest of it is just pounding your head against the wall. It's like, I'm just lazy, right? It's just work and everybody has to work and you have to hate what you do or you have whatever.
Roll that back a little bit. You have to hate what you do. And I know there are so many people out there, entrepreneurs and non-entrepreneurs, that feel that way. Tell me about your relationship with this idea that you have to hate what you do.
Yeah, there's always going to be something that you're doing that's going to be awful, right? You can love what you do. And then you have people say, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And then you'll have other people to come in and they'll say, well, that's not true. You're going to have days that are work. And to an extent, they're right. Some days you're not going to feel motivated. You're not going to feel as spry. But I was a little bit beyond that. It was like, I did not like that. I'm not going to ever do it again for that exact purpose. But there's books and things that you can read out there that are like how to overcome that hard part so that you can enjoy the reward. And it was just miserable, right? People tell you, well, it's going to stink. So you got to just suck it up, just deal with it. It's just part of it. It's part of your journey. You're going to have to go through it. So it was one of those things that it's reinforcing that you're just going to hate it and you're going to just have to suck it up and deal with it. And then that plays right into the self-doubt, the negative talk, the I'm being lazy, I'm not good at this. Even if you are, I'm fairly good at it, right? No, I was pretty good at setting appointments and stuff, but I just hated it. And it was me with the negative self-talk saying, nope, I'm just lazy. I can't do it because of that one reason. It couldn't be anything else.
I know. So it's interesting. I talk a lot about with my clients that we have to remove the resistance to doing the thing that we hate. And it's not that we ever have to do the thing that we hate. We just have to get over that hump of hating it. It just has to be a neutral thing. Like nobody loves to brush their teeth. I mean, maybe some people do, but generally speaking, it's not something people love to do, but we don't really have any resistance to it. We know the benefits to it. And so by removing that resistance, you overcome things going on within you that will show up later in your business. And so this is why I'm a big proponent of removing the resistance to the things that you hate. And also, I'm also a proponent of once you remove that resistance, don't do the things that you don't like to do because typically the reason you hate doing them subconsciously is because deep down you think you're not good at them, right? You said that. You can't do them as fast as other people. So maybe you're just slow, you're not talented. And so there's other people that can do the things better and faster and enjoy it. And so you want to have other people do those things when you get to that place. But the other aspect of it is that you have to find the things that you love to do and work in your zone of genius. Tell me about when you had the idea of creating this massive network of entrepreneurs to connect people together and to really dive into just doing what you love.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it started with me realizing that I really hated what I was doing. Yeah. At least that part of it. It's like, okay, I'm going to cut that free because they always say you have to fall in love with the process, right? That's going to be what leads you down the road you're looking to get down. So it's like, okay, I'm going to trim this off. I'm going to see what happens. I have to fill it with something else. Otherwise there's got to be something to replace it. So I started networking, right? So I wasn't calling leads. I was like, I'm going to create a network of people that we can collaborate, work together. And then as time goes on, there's an extended period of trying to figure out how to do it efficiently because you're not going to be good at it when you first start.
Right.
There's way less motivation or intention on doing, exactly that. So I started doing it. I started having a lot of meetings with a lot of people. And just based on the nature of my business, 99.99% of the people I'm talking to are never going to be my client. And that was fine. But I wanted to be able to add value to everybody because I'm a big believer in the Zig Ziglar, helping the people get what they want. You get what you want. Golden rule, karma, the reap what you sow, the go giver. So I wanted to figure that part out. And I thought networking would be a good way to do it. But it's not intuitive in the sense that when you first start networking, it's like, well, I need to get XYZ result. So they need to meet me halfway. And then it's not that. So you're going to meet a lot of people and you're going to be inefficient with it. And it's going to be, how do I make this more efficient as time goes on? So, to get back to how I started to incorporate growing this network is if I can add value to 1,000 people, 10,000 people, 100,000 people. And I'm able to provide a lot of value, lead with service, try and help all of them in a way that makes sense. That's the golden rule, that treat others the way you'd like to be treated. If I can do that and everybody knows what I do, I'm more likely to actually be referred to the people that I can help. Like I said, everybody I'm talking to never going to be a client of mine. So I have nothing to sell them. I just have a way of helping them. So that's where I took what I hated doing with all the calling and the leads and all this stuff and turned it into something that I'm starting to enjoy at that point. It's like, this is actually way more fun. I get to meet people every single day. There's a lot of people doing awesome things that you don't know about. You don't know what you don't know. People will blow your hair back. You'll go in and you'll have those days where you have a preconceived notion about this conversation is going to go this way because I've done this a lot and I'm an expert. And then they say something, you're like, hold on, pause, let's go back. And it takes you off guard, and people will surprise you if you let them. So it turned into, okay, this is something that I'm going to enjoy. I'm going to find a way to enhance what I'm doing here, provide more value, and go all in on that. And that's how I narrowed down what I was doing to discovering what my actual purpose was.
Okay. So now this I think is really important because it takes a leap of faith and a leap of trust. When you are networking, and most everybody you are meeting are not going to be your clients. So when you discovered that, hey, all these people I'm meeting, or most of these people I'm meeting, are not potential clients for me, how did you double down and have faith that you are still doing what's right for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, even though they'll never be a client of mine, that doesn't mean that they won't know that person. And you have a lot of networking groups, and what they boil down to at their core is you have a group of people that are going to advocate for you when you're not around, right? Because they know what you do. And if they hear something along that line, they'll be like, you know what? I know a guy. I'm going to introduce you to him. So the idea with what I was doing is, well, instead of joining a group where you have that group picked for you, so to speak, making my own, growing my own circle of people that like me enough to refer me in the event that they come across to me that would be a good pick for me. So in order to do that, I have to figure out how to have people like me, right? At least enough to remember me, because when you spend any time talking to people, I always say there's like a bell curve. You have two extremes, and those are the people you're going to remember. And you have a whole lot of people in the middle. On the far left side of it, you have the people that you'll remember for the rest of your life because they joined that meeting and did not care what you had to say. They came in and said, referral, please. Or they came in and they pitch slapped you. They wanted to sell you something. Didn't matter what you had to say. They were there to sell you. You didn't like that. You remember that person forever because you never want to talk to them again. Then on the exact opposite end of that, the people that you're going to remember forever are the ones that came in with just wanting to serve, saying, how can I help you? They listen to what you say, they engage, they ask questions, they promote you along, and they never really talk about themselves. You have to almost get it out of them. Where it's like, hey, I start getting itchy talking about myself for too long. Can you please share what you do? And then they follow that up with, well, that now you know what I do. I would like to help you in some way. And you're going to remember that person, because if they do help you, you're going to want to reciprocate. So if you have to look at the entire bell curve of meetings, you want to be on that side. So how can you be more efficient? How can you reach more people? How can you add more value so that when something does come along, they're going to advocate for you because you're not there. So you're not trying to sell that person anything. You're trying to genuinely help them. Like I said, with the Zig Ziglar, you're helping as many people as you can. The universe is kind of like a giant slot machine or vending machine that if you put $1 in it, eventually $2 comes out. So how many do you want to put in it? I'm leaving the couch. I'm finding loose change and stuff in there, trying to help in any way that I can, knowing that in some form or fashion, from somebody, from somewhere down the road, it'll come back to you.
And there's this idea that if you are putting good work out there and you are being, like I like to call it creator energy versus prevention energy. So a lot of times the people on that one side of the bell curve that you're talking about that are like, here, just give me a referral. This is what I do. Help me, help me, help me. That is like preventing them from going broke, preventing them from suffering, preventing them from blah, 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 whatever else. Versus what you're doing is you're just putting it out there. Here, I'm creating this thing. I'm creating this network. I'm creating in a unique way, which also shows that sort of creation energy inside of you, because you're not just doing it the carbon copy way that everybody else is doing. You're doing it in a way that is right for you, which is totally a be the wolf quality. Plus, one of my marketing guests back a while ago said, people don't want better, they want different. So you give people a way to network that's different. And what I love about your show and your daily newsletter is you give people the opportunity to really get to know the person before they connect. And we all know there's a million podcasts out there. Why are we going to listen to this one? But you do it in a really cool way where you send the newsletter out. There's a little clip so you can get a snippet and enough information to see if that piqued your interest and you want to dive deeper and get to know that person and then have the avenue to connect. And I'm in networking groups and I talk to people all the time. And it's always this formula. Okay, so when you get there and you're just like, okay, who are your power partners? Who are this? And blah, 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 blah. And it's like we're just taking notes, but nothing is sinking in because most people aren't having real conversation.
Yep. Yeah, the whole idea is trying to get that first meeting out of the way, because that first meeting, I don't know what everybody's numbers are, but a large percentage of those, you never have a second one,
Yeah.
right? So it was just you spent 30 minutes chatting with somebody that you're never going to talk to again, and that kind of feels bad. You feel like, okay, I wasted a bit of my time, I wasted their time, and there's got to be better ways. A lot of those networking groups are doing awesome things, and people should absolutely participate in those because there's been a lot of success from the little bit of a spin that I've taken on it is just great. You're already doing that. You don't really have time to do more. You probably want to. Yeah, if I could just meet another person or two a day, but the time and money that I spend on networking is just a little bit ridiculous. With this, it's like, I'm going to make an introduction every day. Take a look at it. It's in your email. It's a 5-minute read. Is this somebody that I want to meet? If the answer is no, great. Check back tomorrow. If the answer is yeah, watch the episode. That's basically the first meeting. That's all my episodes are, is just getting to know that person, who they are, what they do, what they love about what they do, and why them. What sets them apart from the menu of options out there? If you're talking to somebody that's any industry, doesn't matter. There's a million other people doing that thing. So what makes this person stand out, right? So if you can get that information from somebody, you're pretty well going to know whether or not that's somebody you're going to synergize with, that you're going to want to meet. You're going to go into that first meeting when you reach out to them, knowing who they are, what they do, what they love, and what you want to talk about. You don't have a lot of that first meeting awkwardness where it's like, what's your favorite color? Right? It doesn't really matter. You can ask that, absolutely. But being able to say, hey, I saw you say this and it really resonated with me. I'm in agreement with you. I wanted to ask you a follow-up so that you can expand upon that, because we're not going super, super deep. That's meant for the one-on-ones where you can actually connect with that person. The whole idea here is that we're going to introduce you to people every day. And if you could get a couple good connections a month out of that, that could change your career.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to this idea of being lazy. So you thought you were lazy. And tell me more specifically about why you thought you were lazy.
Yeah. So it was the process then. I was in the B2C space. So I was buying leads, calling leads, trying to help them with what they said they wanted help with. And then there's a good mix of them. Like, I don't remember doing the thing. And you're like, and it was one of those things that was just draining. You do it. And then the entire culture around all of that was just do more. We'll get you on an auto dialer and you'll be able to do more faster. And it's like, yeah, hate it. Do I want to do more of something I hate faster? I'm spending the same amount of time. Yeah, it's more efficient, but it's just more. So it was one of those things where it's just hard to do. Like, I'd spend days, and if you're facing something like that in your business, it can cause you to stagnate because you're going to start getting distracted by other things that really aren't important. Like, I'm going to start working on my perfect website, or on my perfect cold outreach, or my perfect email, or my perfect email signature, even, instead of doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing because you hate the thing you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And then you can read a book, and there's some books out there that are really great with this, because you will face some things that are hard and you need to do the hard thing. So books like Eat That Frog, right, where you tackle the hardest thing of the day right up front. But if it's an everyday thing, it gets harder and harder, and the frog gets bigger and bigger. So a lot of times the right answer is to not do the thing anymore. There's things that's like, it's just going to be hard. I need to do it. Absolutely true. Just like exercise. It's going to be hard. It's going to stink. Nobody necessarily really enjoys that part of it, but they like the reward. So there's definitely things like that. But if it gets to the point where it's like, I cannot make myself do it, if you need to be willing to say, okay, then I'm not and find another path, because if you really despise it that much, it's hurting you in the long run. That's what it looked like.
Yeah. So now, what did you learn when you started working on your purpose about being lazy?
Well, I learned I wasn't, because
Wow.
what I'm doing now is way more work. I'm putting way more hours into this than I ever did doing that. That I was like, okay, I'm going to set aside 5 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours, whatever it is. I was going to set them out that time, and I just had to do it. This is it's open ended. It's going to take as long as it takes, but it still gets done, and I'm not drained after doing it, and I don't feel like I have to convince myself. I wake up and go, what do I have to do? And then I go do the thing. I don't go, what should I do? And can I make myself today, or am I going to get distracted? So it's completely changed that to where it's like, yeah, I'm doing way more work, but I'm enjoying the process. There's parts that I don't like. There's things that it's like, okay, when I hit certain milestones, this is definitely something that I'm going to offload off of my plate, but I'm still able to do it because overall, I feel like, okay, this is my purpose. It's not just what I'm doing. This is going to be the means to the end. And I know exactly what my goals are. I know exactly what I want out of this. I know exactly how this is going to work to get me there, because I have that whole picture in my head now. Before it was like, maybe I want to switch something up here. And you start getting shiny object syndrome and you start moving around and trying different things. And you never really get good at any of it. And this is like, okay, this is going to be viable for my entire life. This is going to be something that's, no matter anything that changes in the future with whatever I'm doing, the purpose part of it implements everywhere, right? If I'm better at talking to people, better at making connections, better at networking, better at creating friendships and relationships, that's going to be a positive impact everywhere. So I can put in an immense amount of work into that, knowing that the payoff is always going to be pertinent.
And so talk to me about, you said, your purpose and you have the bigger goals and the bigger vision. Talk to me about that. And how is it different from your B2B business?
Yeah, on the business side, and what I'm doing is it's sales, right? I'm trying to provide a service for somebody else. Like, hey, here's this thing. Here's how it can help you. Here's how it's going to save you. Here's how it's going to be in the long run. That's a sales process. With what I'm doing now, it's here's how I can help you, right? I'm not selling anything. It's technically it's a sale. You're grabbing their attention, their time, not their dollars. I'm providing this valuable thing. If anybody sees value in it, let's work together on helping it. Because then it's the many hands making light work. It's the rising tide lifting all ships. I Worst case scenario, if on my business side, if I go out and I do a bunch of prospecting and I get zero sales, I spent that entire day and got nothing positive out of it. Worst case scenario with my purpose is I spend a lot of time talking with people, helping people, and I personally didn't get something out of it, but everybody else did. Right. If the worst thing that can come from what I'm doing is I helped another person, that's still a worthy achievement. So I never feel like I didn't get anything accomplished with this. And that's another thing that's really set it apart from everything else that I've done. And finding that purpose is, no matter the outcome, I'm happy with it.
Yeah. And that really comes down to that concept of if you're lazy or not lazy, or if we have enough time or not have enough time. And I know so many entrepreneurs are beating themselves up because I didn't get enough done today, because the metrics they're looking for is the sales, the revenue, the profit, and all of those things are tangible outcomes. And there's nothing wrong with having tangible goals like that. But when your focus becomes, I have to get that or else, and there's that or else that's happening in the back of the head, again, back to that prevention. But when you're leading with purpose in your business, whatever your business is, then you get to have those days where maybe I didn't sell. Like, I can get on a call with a potential client and maybe I don't sell them, but I saw them have that aha moment, and that my purpose is the evolution of humanity. And so that aha moment just helped open up their path towards evolving to something, a better version of themselves. And so that I don't have to make the sale to get that fulfillment. And it sounds to me like that's what you're talking about. That's that feeling inside you're getting on a day-to-day basis by doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. If I help one person or 100, obviously I prefer 100, but still helping one person's noble enough that I'm like, I'm really happy that I helped that one person. There's no, I mean, maybe I haven't seen it yet, but there's no downside to it with what I'm doing. It's, I'm meeting awesome people. I'm introducing them to other awesome people, and I'm learning stuff every single day that I wouldn't have otherwise learned. Right. Because if I was just in my own little self-employed cubby hole, only talking to my clients and that's it, bleak existence, right? If you have a job, you have your colleagues, the people you work with that you can introduce. With this, it's like you have to reach outside. You have to find people that you're going to synergize with. You have to find people in your community. You're going to have to find people because humans, we're social beings. We need that. So I think that's also probably part of it is the fact that I'm not just me, right? It's, yeah, no, I talk to interesting people all the time. I'm creating these relationships, these lasting relationships. It's rare that I talk to somebody now and only talk to them once. More often than not, we're constantly having conversation. We're constantly re-meeting. We're constantly helping each other in ways that we can. And it's all reciprocating in a way that amazing to see because you hear the stuff and then because you've been told it a million different times. If you help somebody, it's going to come back to you. And then you start seeing it. And then you start seeing it in ways that you wouldn't expect. And that's what's really amazing is you'll make an introduction to somebody and then they go down this spider web chain of introductions and it comes back to you and you get looped back into the same thing. You're like, I don't know how I got here, but I'm happy to be here. So it is to your point, it's fulfilling every single day in different surprising ways.
Yeah. And one of the things that people don't realize or they don't think about, I think if they really thought about it, they would get it. But our outcomes in our life are a result of the decisions that we make. And we don't realize how this one decision 10 years ago could lead you to this moment here. And so you have to think to yourself, what kind of decisions am I making and why am I making them? Am I trying to prevent something? If you're always operating and moving from that place, you're making decisions because you're worried about things. And when you're worried about things, subconsciously, your brain cannot access and create anything new. So, this is a really important thing, I think, for people that are listening and wanting to create relationships and networking. If you're in it for what can I get because you're worried about things in your business not going the way you want, you're actually in this place where you can't create authentic connection because that worry actually shuts down your capacity to invite anything new in. And so, another piece that I love about what's happening for you is that because you're leading with what you're giving, they get to feel safe, like they're receiving, and that allows them to open up and create more authentic and deeper connection. And I think that's very powerful.
Yeah, it is. And surprising. Yeah, if you're in it for what can you get? Yeah, yeah, everybody is at some point or another. But if you're in to see just where can it go, it will surprise you, and always in a good way.
Yeah. It's always super fun to see where things go. What's one of the most surprising things that has come out of this adventure you have stepped into?
Yeah, that that this is something that I could do for the rest of my life. Right? This was something. It started as a way for me to make better introductions, where I was like, okay, I'm going to interview people. They're going to tell me about themselves, and if I find somebody that's a good introduction for them, I'm just going to send them the episode, and they can tell me yay or nay. Nobody's feelings get hurt. Nothing. And it's turned into more quicker than I thought it would, to where it is what it's a daily thing now. It's something that I think has some legs that we can reach a wider and broader audience, and I can be introduced and have conversations with people that before would have been like, there's no way. I've only ever seen that person on TV. How am I talking to somebody that has a White House Lifetime Achievement Award, right? How did that? They were on the phone with the president just a week before they were talking to me. I'm one phone call away. What is it? The 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, or you can be in touch with basically anybody in the world if your network's big enough. So it's one of those things that it's like, I didn't realize what it could possibly be when it started. And I still probably don't recognize how wide of a reach that something like that can have, even small. Like this is something new. And it's already having that kind of a reach. It's just amazing to be on this side of it going, okay, this is fun. I could definitely see myself doing this for the rest of my life and being happy doing it. So how do I make what I'm doing 100% my purpose?
The other piece that I love about this is that you have stepped into this idea, you're doing it, and you're happy with where it's at and where it's going. And you know that it's probably going to get bigger and do things. And I know that if you think about it logically, of course, it's going to open up doors that you never thought were possible, that are just random opportunities that who knows what's going to come from it. But you're focused on where you are right now. And I think this is a big thing that entrepreneurs do is they're so focused on when I get $1 million or when I get to this place where I have all the things that I want instead of being content with where they are now. And yes, you're working your butt off. You're not lazy, but you're driven by something bigger than I'm trying to prevent my business from failing. You're driven by something bigger. And so many people that I think one of the big markers between entrepreneurs who are happy and successful and entrepreneurs who are just successful is that they're driven by a why. So they have a purpose and they're not fully driven by the money. Like, sure, they need to make money. That's part of the process of owning a business, but it is not the focus. And because of that, they're focused on what they're creating, what they're building, what they're offering to the world. And if I create something, then I make it for the world. If I use my gifts, you have great, great gifts of connecting and communicating with people. You're using your gifts to create something, and it ends up being a gift to the world. And the law of reciprocity says that it will come back to you, but it comes back to you in the form that you put it out there. So if you're putting it out there from an actual genuine giving space versus a I'm going to do this so that I get something in return space, you get two very different things in return.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something to be said for that. It's going to mirror your heart, whatever you put in it. Make sure you're looking to get, exactly what you want. Steer toward that. Like I said, it's been said so many times. I always boil it down to the golden rule. If you're treating people the way you want to be treated, good things are going to happen. If you're out there actively trying to just help people and not ask anything in return, it will return, right? And it's okay to acknowledge that that's a fact and it'll happen because you don't know how and you don't know when, you don't know what form, but just knowing that you should do more good every single day if you can.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what would you have to say to the entrepreneurs out there who think that they're lazy?
It's possible that you are. I'm not saying that it's 100% because sometimes I have been lazy for sure, but it's also possible that you aren't. It could be a negative self-talk. It could be a blend of the two where the negative self-talk has made you that way, where maybe the fact that you're having trouble overcoming an obstacle is preventing you from overcoming the ones that you normally are fine with. So just know that there's people out there that can help you through it. There's books, there's people, there's conversations that you can have that'll help you, navigate whatever it is problems that you're facing as an entrepreneur, because we've all faced them. We all get through them. We all overcome them. The ones that you overcome yourself, those are the freebies, right? Those are the ones that you're like, okay, I hit that pothole, fell on my face, got up, brushed myself off. And then feel free to turn around and tell the next person in line, hey, watch out for this. Because the more people that do that, the more entrepreneurs that are actively overcoming obstacles and sharing it with the others, the better it is for everybody. Our country's backbone is small businesses, right? So we should all want everybody else to succeed. So if you do face a challenge, talk about it, right? Don't just be embarrassed. Oh man, I was super lazy or thought I was. I overcame the thing. Be willing to share. Be willing to communicate how you did something, because my story might not be the fix for other people or most other people. It might work for some, won't work for all, but you can say the same thing in a million different ways, but the way that you say it might resonate with somebody in a way that mine never would. So be willing to talk about, be a little bit vulnerable on your entrepreneur journey and share those stories. They're super, super valuable.
Yeah, it's true. One of the things that happens for us is we learn more through story than anything else because a story will meet anybody where they're at. So they will see themselves in the story, but they will see themselves through the lens of where they are at instead of necessarily like I could be telling you a story with the purpose of making people feel and experience a certain thing. And 10 people out there are going to feel and experience 10 different things because that story will meet them where they're at. Instead of you give all this content and this great educational information. And if somebody's not at a place where they can fully absorb all of that, it just goes in one ear and out the other or over somebody's head because the information doesn't necessarily meet somebody where they're at. So I love that's why I share stories and we talk about this stuff on this show. Okay, so how do people get on the I know a guy list?
Yeah, absolutely. And to touch on what you were saying just a second ago, not to
Yeah.
backtrack, but to that point, people will see people that are where they want to be, and they'll be like, I own multiple businesses and I make $1 billion a year. And they think only those stories are valuable when they're overlooking their own. Where if you're 20% further along than somebody else or know 20% more about a subject than somebody else, that's super valuable to that person. I like to say that we don't only hire college professors, right? There's middle school teachers out there for a reason because you need the education, like you said, to meet you where you're at along your entire path. So if you're even a couple days into being an entrepreneur, more about being an entrepreneur than somebody that's considering it. So that story is valuable because it's fresh, it's unique. I did this. This is how I got started. This is how I accomplished my first week in business. That's just as valuable for the right people as here's how I made $1 billion.
Yeah, it's important. It really is important. And why it's so important, I want to just touch on this real quick, is that if you are, say, at a place where you're struggling to make your first 100K and you're just consuming info and content from billionaires, there's so many steps ahead. What they're doing is not going to help you. Every stage of business, you almost have to relearn how to do everything. And so the people that are just a little ahead of you will often have way better information, or one or two steps ahead of you will have way better information, way more practical information for you to implement to get you to the next level. So, that being said, how do people connect with all of the people on your list?
Yeah. The best way is just go to my website, ikag.me. So acronym for I know a guy.me. That's the best way. You can see everybody I've interviewed. You can sign up for the newsletter. You can apply to be a guest. It's all there.
Okay, so everybody open up your browsers right now. Unless you're driving, then you might not want to do this. You can tell Siri to put a reminder to do it later. Open up your browsers and type it in ikag.me. Okay, one last question, Anthony. So somebody's doing the grind, they're forcing themselves, they're doing the negative self-talk, they're saying to themselves that they're lazy. They're at that place and they're too shy to talk about it. Because you already talked about how a great thing to do is to talk about it. What do they need to know in order to take a step towards doing what they love, finding their purpose, getting out of that I'm lazy self-talk?
Eventually you're going to want to talk to somebody, but until then, you know, write out why it is you think you're lazy. Put it on paper. A lot of times just writing something out, journaling can help you think, right? Because a lot of times you get into a spiral where it's all negative, negative, negative. But if you can write it out, you can say, okay, I'm being a little bit ridiculous. And once you read it back, and you can see, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm not liking. This is my goal. This is what I really enjoy about it. Because no matter what you're doing, there's probably something there that you really enjoy, and being able to find what that is and focus on that, and then start thinking about how I can get more of that and less of the stuff that I don't like, or how I can actually trim all the parts off that are maybe holding me back. If you are in the same situation I was, where it's like buying leads, calling leads, that's not the only way to prospect, right? If it's as simple as just changing the methods and the processes to what you're doing to achieve your end result, it could be that easy. There's people out there that are willing to give you advice that you don't even have to talk to. Right? There's videos, there's podcasts, there's books, there's all this stuff. Don't let yourself negative self-talk. Don't think you're the only one that does it. Everybody does it at some day in their business. If you don't, you're probably a sociopath, right? You're absolutely normal if you've had hard days. So write it out, plan it out, figure it out. And then when you're ready, talk to somebody. They're going to be able to tell you exactly that. They're going to be able to relate. And I always like to say things like coaching it's overly accepted that coaching and like athletics is super accepted. But when you start talking about your business or you start talking about things like that, people get a little bit shy about it. But let's look at like a baseball, a batting coach, right? Your eyes on the ball. You're there. You're trying to do your best, the best form to hit the ball. Your coach can look at your back foot and saying you're messing something up that you would never have seen otherwise.
Yeah.
So when you get to the point, if it makes sense and you find the right person, have that conversation. Let them take a look and see what you're not seeing. But until then, yeah, just try and get rid of this negative self-talk. It's gonna still crop up. It happens to everybody, but try and put it out in a way that you're gonna understand.
And one thing that you said that I think is really important is you normalized it, because a lot of times people don't want to talk about it and they're shy, not because they're really shy, but because they feel shame, like there's something wrong with them. And we all go through it, especially if you have stepped into the path of entrepreneurship, whether you meant to or not, you are on a path of self discovery and of overcoming your internal obstacles. And because to succeed, you absolutely have to do that. And so I think it's really important to know that you can say those things out loud, especially if you're talking to another entrepreneur. And again, unless they're a sociopath, they have experienced it themselves, or at least they know a lot of their entrepreneur friends have. So there is some normalcy. There's nothing to feel ashamed about. And I think that's important.
Absolutely.
All right, Anthony, thank you so much for joining me and all of my guests. And remember, everybody, open up those browsers, ikag.me. Sign up for the newsletter. It's a good one. I get it. I signed up. So you should too. Or, do what you want. I'm not the boss of you. All right, everybody, remember, when you unleash the power of you, humanity evolves. We'll see you all next time on Be the Wolf. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for having me.